And I mentioned the block because when we lie on our backs a lot of times, and I invite you just to try it just to see if it makes a difference in your body, to place the block just under your head and place it on the flattest setting so it's not too high for you. Just try this for a moment and then just notice if when you're lying now on your back, the back of your neck feels a little longer. Notice if your chin can draw closer to your chest, but then most importantly, notice if your lower ribs drop down or it's easier to drop them down. Sometimes if the head is on the floor, the chin is lifted, the back of the neck gets compressed, and then what results also is in a lifting of the rib cage and an arching of the back body of the spine. So we're trying kind of to avoid that. If the block is a bit too high, something a little less high might help, like a folded blanket, but just to give you that neutral spine, especially from the pelvis up to the shoulders. And then right away as you arrive here, just then pause. You might close your eyes. And just take a few breaths. Make sure that you're comfortable right now, so your feet are well planted, knees are bent, and maybe the knees are resting against one another. Or there's some space between them, but just little effort right now. And before we start moving in more obvious ways, we're going to bring attention to the breath and some activation through the core. And so just with your breathing, notice that the rib cage, the belly will be moving to some degree. And then try and breathe a bit more through your nose. And then see if you can feel that with your exhales, you need to find a bit more effort through those deeper abdominal muscles. You need to push the air up and out. So it's going to require a bit more contraction through that core, that center of the body. And then see if with your next exhale, as if you were trying to blow out a candle, see if you can draw your lower ribs towards your pelvis, without rounding the back body. So the back body stays neutral, stable, and then just very slightly see if those lower ribs, as you exhale, draw a little closer to your pelvis, to your hips. And then let's try that same thing, but now bringing the hands to the lower ribs. So just rest your fingers on those lower ribs and then take a full breath in. And as you exhale, feel those lower ribs lower and draw a little closer or in the direction towards your pelvis. So right away with your exhales, core activation is happening. Remember to keep your back neutral so you're not arching or rounding the back. Take a couple more. And then soften. Open your arms out into a T and just gently drop your knees to one side and then to the other. A few times, just loose. We're going to come back to that. So the next time your knees come back through center, pause there, return your hands to your rib cage. And then take a deep breath in. And exhale again. Find that lowering of your ribs as if you were drawing your ribs towards your pelvis. And then see if you can lift your head off your block and look towards your belly. Pause, breathing in. Breathing out. Keep your back body, your lower back especially, just neutral, your sacrum on the mat. One more breath here. And then exhale, gently lower the head back onto your block. Now we're going to lift those legs. So with your next inhale, your knees are going to lift in line with your hips. Find 90-degree angles more or less with those legs. So flex your feet to toes drawing towards your shins. So your knees shouldn't be too far in or too far out. I mean, out, forward from your hips is going to be extra work for that core. If you bring those knees too close to your chest, your core won't need to engage. So more or less in line, right on top of your hips with those knees and those shins parallel to the ground. Again, your hands to your rib cage. Take a breath in. Breath out, ribs, lower ribs draw down and towards the pelvis. Take another inhale and another exhale. Now you're always welcome to stay here. If you can keep that same back body, that same core position, see if you can lift your arms straight up towards the ceiling. Aligning more or less your wrists over your shoulders, and then try to keep your shoulder blades more or less neutral too, so don't lift them away from the floor. Take a full breath in here and a full breath out. Now again, welcome to stay here. On your exhale, you might reach those fingers towards your feet and then lift the head just like we did earlier, looking towards your belly. Breathing here. Even if your legs are lifted, they're active. So imagine you were pushing something away with your heels. And then lower the head if it was lifted. And then bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze and a bit of a rock. Think about lifting your sacrum off the ground and then planting it back down. And then lower those feet back to the mat. Open your arms out into a T. Drop your knees towards the left side. This time, pause. You could stay here. You could reach your right arm by your ear, lengthening that right side body. Squeeze a bit through the right glute. Imagine that you were pushing your hip up and forward. And so you should feel a stretch through the front of the right hip, up the right side of the belly, rib cage, armpit. And then return through center and do the same to the other side. Knees go to the right. And then option of reaching that left arm by your ear overhead. Keep it resting on the ground. Squeeze through the left glute, an extra stretch through the front of the left hip. left side of the belly, ribs, chest, armpit. And then come back through center on the inhale. Again, we're going to come back to that those lifted legs. So again, those 90-degree angles more or less with your knees, your ankles, your hips. And then again, make sure that those lower ribs draw down, that your back body, lower back is neutral on the ground, and then reach your arms up towards the ceiling. So from here, we're going to take it up a notch. So we're going to reach the right arm by the ear, but you're just going to hover it over the ground so you're not touching the floor. And then see if you can extend your left leg out in front of you and also hover it over the ground. Neutral through that lower back, so no change there. And then bring arm and leg back in. So this is the same as those table poses we did last week, right? It's the same shape, but we're upside down. Try it now with your left arm reaching by your ear, and then see if you can extend your right leg to hover. So opposite arm and leg, nothing else changes. Keep those lower ribs drawing down, and then bring leg and arm back in. Okay, let's try it again. Right arm by the ear, left arm extends. Opposite arm and leg, try not to change the core. And then come back through center. Switch, left arm, right leg, extend. Slow and controlled. Lower ribs draw down. And bring it back through center. Let's do one more each side. Right arm, left leg, slow and controlled without changing anything else. Bring it back through center. And left arm, right leg, slowly extend. And bring it back through center. Once you come back through center, lower your hands to your rib cage. And then lower one foot and lower the other. Bring your feet wide, slightly pigeon toe, and let your knees rest against each other. And then use your hands to give your belly a bit of a massage. Start on the right side, lower belly. Find some circles, and then come up towards the lower right ribs, circling, and then cross over to the lower left ribs, circling, and then down to the left side of the lower belly. And then just below the belly button. And then bring your hands back to your rib cage. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, draw those ribs towards the floor and towards the pelvis. Again, find that action and see if you can lift your head. And again, look towards your belly. And see if you can lift from the core rather than just the neck. And then return the head back to the mat. Open your arms out into a T and drop your knees towards the left side. Take a pause, breathing here. And then knees back through center and switch towards the right. Full breath in and full breath out. As you inhale, bring those knees back through center. And then if you had a block or something under your head, if it's a block, I would move it away. It might be a bit too much. If it's kind of a blanket or something a bit soft, you could leave it there. And then bring those knees into your chest, your hands behind your thighs, and then begin to rock forward and back. So you might start just by lifting your hips a bit and maybe even extending your legs somewhat towards the ceiling or overhead. So you start by just keeping your shoulders and head on the ground. And then gather a little bit of momentum and see if when your legs go forward, maybe your torso lifts up. You might even come onto the sit bones and then come back down. And only do this if it's comfortable for your spine. A cushiony surface underneath you will certainly help. And then see if you can catch yourself balancing on your sit bones. You might draw the toes or press or put the toes on the ground. Keep your hands behind your thighs and see if you can pause here. Give your shoulders a roll. Broaden through the chest, but then remember to draw those lower ribs in so that you can keep that core engaged. Now from here, your hands can stay where they're at. See if your right shin can lift and maybe come parallel to the ground. You can keep your left toes on the ground and then lower, and then do the same with the left. Left shin lifts and then lower it. If it's really difficult to keep your balance here with your hands behind your thighs, bring your hands behind you and plant your fingertips. Okay, so support yourself like this. And then again, right leg lifts, lower, left leg, and lower. 2 more, lift, lower, and left, and lower. Nice. And then bring your feet wide, bring your torso up a bit more. Your knees are wide too. Your hands can stay behind you, outer hips, and then drop your knees towards the left side. Sweep your right arm forward and all the way back. And then again, look for a stretch through the right side of the body. And then come back through center, plant your right hand, and then do the same with the left. Left arm sweeps, and then reach. Use this to stretch left side. 1 more time each side to the left and to the right. And then bring yourself back through center. We're going to come back into those boat poses. So bring your feet back to hip width. Again, hands behind you, hands behind the thighs, or maybe hands reaching forward. Wherever you are, try not to round your spine. Think about that broad chest, but think about that connection between lower ribs and pelvis to keep that core engaged. Right shin, see if it can lift. And lower. Left shin, see if it can lift. And lower. 1 more time each side. Or maybe a little bit more challenge. See if both shins can lift. And you're balancing on those sit bones. Hands can be behind you. Full breath in wherever you are. Broad chest, full breath out. Last one here. Inhale, soften face. And then on your exhale, bring the soles of the feet together. Knees go wide, lower the feet to the ground. Take a breath in. And then fold forward. Allow your spine to round, the head to drop. Make this a little bit more relaxing if possible. Deep breath in. A long breath out. Another one here. And then with your next inhale, lift that spine. You've still got that diamond shape with your legs. And we're going to inhale, the right knee is going to lift. We're going to shift onto the left sit bone as you find that right knee stacking on top of the left. And then come back through center and then do the same on the left or to the with the left leg. And then back through center and then right. And back through center and then left. This time we're going to come onto the right side. And then from here, your left hand is going to stay planted, or if it isn't already planted, and then your right arm is going to reach up and over into a side stretch. See if you can feel that space in the right side of the body, little bend in your left elbow. And then come back with your torso, come back with your legs, that diamond shape. And then your left knee is going to stack on top of the right. Your right hand is going to plant to the right. And then your left arm reaches up and over. And you might find a bend in your right elbow. And look for that space in the left side body. And bring yourself back through center, back into that diamond shape. This time, see if you can cross your ankles, bring them really close to your body, and then you might roll on top and over those feet. If not, come to your side and find your way into a table pose. Your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. A little wiggle through those toes, so maybe lift your feet, rotate through ankles, wiggle the toes. And then plant the tops of the feet, drop the belly, stretch that core, that front body, inhale. And exhale, round and stretch that back body, dropping the head. 2 more times, inhale, open the front body. Exhale, open that back body. Last one, inhale. And exhale. And then let's find again, table pose, neutral spine. And let's find that same shape that we did on our back body, but now in this table pose. So we'll start by extending the left leg. And then extending the right arm. Fingers and toes resting on the ground to begin with. Take a full breath in. Take a full breath out. See if you can find again that core, the same thing. Those ribs drawing a little bit more towards the spine. And imagine that you were trying to get them a bit closer, just slightly towards your pelvis. And then see if that arm and that leg will lift off the ground, keeping a steady gaze and breath. A couple more here. And then with your next exhale, return hand and return knee to the ground. Same thing on the other side. Right leg extends, toes start on the ground, left fingers out in front of you as well, starting on the ground. Find again that breath and find again that center body, that stability. And then when you're ready, lifting those fingers, lifting those toes. Breathing here. And find some softness through the face. One more. And then hand returns and knee returns. Take a belly, inhale, dropping belly, chest forward, gaze up. And then exhale, rounding your spine. One more, inhale into cow. And this time move through cat, but tuck your toes, sit bones towards your heels, and then begin to float your knees and begin to make your way slowly into downward facing dog. Once you get to down dog, your heels are heavy, your head is heavy. Maybe you look under your left armpit and then look under your right. And again, left and right. And then you might look towards your belly and then look towards your fingers. And one more like that, to the belly, to the fingers. Pause, take another breath. And then use your next inhale to walk your hands towards your feet, coming towards the back of the mat, meeting there in a forward fold. Holding on to opposite elbows, find a little sway, straighten and bend through those knees. Maybe your toes get a wiggle. Maybe you find stillness here. We'll use the next inhale to bring hands to hips, find a bend in your knees, and slowly begin to unroll the spine. Find that core activation to support your spine as you rise up. And then mountain pose, arms by your side, palms facing forward, shoulders are moving down and away from ears. Crown of the head is reaching tall, little squeeze through the glutes. See if you can find that stable, strong stance. And as you breathe in, reach your arms wide and up. On your breath out, right arm down for a side bend, reach up and over. Inhale, come back through center. And then take it to the left, exhale. Inhale back through center. Interlace those fingers overhead, palms towards the ceiling. Give yourself a whole body stretch option to lift the heels if that's available today. Breathing in. On your exhale, heels lower, arms go wide, a bend in the knees as we fold forward. With your next inhale, walk your hands to the top of the mat and find a plank pose to start with. And then in your plank, take a full breath in and see if you can bend your knee and just drop that knee towards the mat. It might touch, it might not. You're not putting much weight into it. And then straighten, lifting that right knee, and then do the same with the left. Drop that left knee. And then straighten, one more time each side, right knee, straighten, and left knee, trying not to change anything else in the body. And then straighten, and from your plank, lift those hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a full breath in here, and a full breath out. With your next inhale, this time walk your feet towards the top of the mat, towards your hands. Forward fold as you exhale. Take an extra breath. And then bend into those knees, hands to your hips. And again, use that core, that engagement through lower belly to support your spine as you rise up. Shoulders stack over hips, arms by your side, mountain pose. As you breathe in, arms widen up. On your breath out, right arm down, side bend. Inhale, return center. Exhale to your left. Inhale back through center. Find the opposite interlace of your fingers this time. Palms towards the ceiling. Again, a stretch. Maybe a bit of balance as those heels might float any amount off the ground. Breath in. As you exhale, heels gently lower. Arms go wide, folding forward. Inhale into a halfway lift. And on your exhale, stepping your left foot back as we find a lunge. Your hands on blocks can be really helpful here. Alternatively, you could have both hands to the inside of your right foot if you prefer. Take a full breath in. Left knee is lifted, squeezing through the left glute. And then on your exhale, gently lower that left knee down. Tuck or untuck your left toes, whatever feels best. And then from here, think about stretching the front of your left hip. So hips forward and down, torso lifting. And then on your exhale, straighten that front leg with stretching the back of the right leg. And then we'll do that a couple more times. Come forward on the inhale, squeeze left glute, stretch front of left hip. Go back on your exhale, see if you can feel that right hamstring stretch. Maybe even you lift the ball of the foot, you come onto your heel. One more time, come forward, inhale. And then take it back on your exhale. We're going to pause in this half split. So the hands are going to walk back towards you. And you kind of want to try to get your hands more or less under your shoulders, because we're going to try and find that neutral spine here. So if your hands, if the floor is too far away, you're going to have to round. So then, coming onto fingertips, or as I say, those blocks will help. Draw the right toes towards your right shin. Feel that stretch through the back of the leg. Think about your right hip going slightly back and your left hip going slightly forward. Take a deep breath in. Breath out. See if you can broaden your chest. Think about squeezing your shoulder blades slightly towards one another. One more breath here. And then with the next inhale, bend into your front knee once again. Bring your left hand to the inside of that right foot and your right hand to your right thigh. Begin to find a twist. So you're using your right hand as leverage. Push into the thigh as you begin to turn your belly towards the right, your torso towards the right. And then give an extra squeeze through your left glute. So that left leg is still quite active. If you can keep the twist, maybe your hand leaves your thigh and it reaches up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in. And take a breath out. One more here. And as you exhale, right hand returns to the mat or to your block. And then we're going to tuck the back toes, lift that back knee, and then see if you can kind of shift forward and back a bit with your hips and your legs. And then the next time that you're shifting forward, see if that left foot can leave the ground and come all the way up next to the right. Halfway lift on your inhale, folding forward as you exhale. We are rising up, a little bend in the knees. Your hands could come to hips, or you could take them out wide and all the way up overhead. And as you exhale, arms down by your side, mountain pose. Give your shoulders a little roll. And as you breathe in, arms reach up. On your exhale, left arm down, side bend. Back through center, inhale. To your other side, exhale. Back through center, inhale. Folding forward, exhale. Halfway lift, inhale. Planting hands on the blocks, maybe. Right foot this time is going to step to the back of the mat, finding your lunge. Start with the back knee lifted. You're on the ball of the back foot. Give a squeeze through the right glute. Think about your front shin reaching forward, your back heel pushing back. So quite a strong pose right now. Take another breath. And then slow and gentle, lower the back knee all the way down to the mat. And you can choose to keep your toes tucked or untuck them. From here, we're moving between this and the half split. So when you're ready, inhale. Hips go forward, down, torso lifts. Get that stretch through the front of your right hip. And then on your exhale, extend through the front leg as your hips go back. And then again, come forward, breathing in. Squeeze right glute. Exhale, take it back. Stretch left hamstring. One more. Inhale, forward, squeeze. And exhale and back. We're pausing now in this half split. So first thing, hands come back to closer to you. Bring your blocks to. And then try to look for that neutral spine as best you can. So you might even try a cow and a cat and then look for the place in between. So your cat pose is going to take away from that stretch, left hamstring. Your cow pose is going to emphasize that stretch. And then find that neutral spine right there in the middle. Maybe you're flexing through your left foot. Toes are drawing towards your shin. Extra stretch also. As if you were trying to push something away with the sole of the left foot. Press the heel down. Another breath. And then use your next inhale to bend into that front knee. Come forward, bring your right hand forward too. You're going to plant it, and then your left hand is going to come to your left thigh. And then from here, find that leverage. So you're going to push into the thigh. Think about pushing the heel of your hand forward and down, and then find that rotation through your rib cage towards your left. Now extra squeeze through your right glute. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. Option to stay here, or if you can keep that twist through the torso, take your left arm towards the ceiling. Maybe a little wiggle through your fingers, rotation through your wrists if you'd like. Think about broad, expansive chest. Easy through the face. And then with your next exhale, lower that left hand. Tuck your back toes, lift that back knee. Take a full breath in here. Breath out. And then again, shift forward and back. Your hips on that back foot. And then see if you catch a moment in which you can send that right foot all the way forward next to the left. halfway lift, and exhale to fold. Pause in your forward fold, maybe hold on to opposite elbows. Deep breath in, open mouth, exhale. One more. And then with your next breath in, slowly rising up, maybe those arms hang, the head hangs, a bend in your knees. And then finding mountain pose, your shoulders get a roll, and arms by your side, palms facing forward. Take a deep breath in, and a breath out. With your next inhale, arms reach tall. As you exhale, left arm down, side bend. Back through center, inhale, and over to the other side as you exhale. Back through center, inhale, and then bring your hands and rest them at your chest. Okay, so we're going to find a little standing balance, and we're going to try and do kind of similar shape to what we've been doing on our backs in that table pose, but now in this standing position. So hands at your torso is an option, but if you prefer hands at your hips, we're going to just do legs to start with. So make sure that you're well grounded through your right foot. And then when you're ready, see if you can lift your left heel, come onto your left toes, tiptoes. Okay. And then from here, see if you can lift that knee and align it with your hip. Flex through your foot. It's that same shape that we were doing on our backs. Pause here. Now think about those lower ribs drawing in and down towards your pelvis, and then find that exhale that activates that core. And then slow and controlled, release that left foot, bring it back to the ground. Take a moment, both feet planted. And then your grounding foot now is going to be your left. Okay, so just take a moment to feel steady there. And then come onto the toes of your right foot. Lift the heel, lift the ball of the foot. So you've got very little weight on that right foot. And then once you've got that, see if you can lift that right knee and bring it in line with your right hip. Then flex your foot and look for those 90-degree angles, more or less, with that right leg. Pause. And think about your exhales, drawing those lower ribs in. So make sure you're not leaning back. Just like we did on the ground. And then slow and control, lowering that right foot back to the ground. Take a moment, relax, roll the shoulders, wiggle fingers, maybe shift your weight forward and back. All right, so we're going to add a layer of arms to this, and as well, you're always welcome to skip that. But the main thing here is to keep that, to feel that core engagement, that stability. Feel those lower ribs drawing down slightly in, okay? And use your exhales for that. Right, so grounding foot, right. Hands again can come to your chest, and then see if you can come onto the left tiptoes, and then see if that left knee can come in line with your hip, flexing through that foot. Pausing here, again, find that stability through the core. And then if you want the layer of the arms, that right arm is going to reach up towards the ceiling. Maybe you stay here. Maybe your left arm reaches up towards the ceiling too. When you lift the arms, sometimes the ribs flare forward. You lose the core engagement. So draw those ribs gently in. And then when you're ready, return. Hands come down and left foot returns to the ground. Okay. We'll try it on the last side. So when you're ready, grounding through left foot onto the tiptoes of the right foot, and then see if they can leave the ground, finding those 90-degree angles with your right leg. And again, this might be plenty to work with. If there's a little more available, left arm might reach. Right arm might reach. Don't lose those ribs, draw them gently in. And then return, slow and controlled. Right foot back, arms down by your side. Give your shoulders a roll. Deep breath in. Long breath out. As you breathe in, arms go wide and up. And on your breath out, folding forward. Inhale for a halfway lift, lengthen. And exhale, plant your hands, step your feet back, downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, find a bit of movement. Release those hips, little movement through your legs. Take another full breath in. And then on your exhale, slowly begin to bend your knees and see if you can lower those knees without changing too much your upper body. So you're still in your down dog through your arms up to your hips. And then once your knees are down, you could slide them out, big toes to touch, and child's pose, sit bones towards your heels. Arms out in front of you or close towards you, maybe opposite elbows or maybe by your side. And then allow the chest to drop towards the mat. So again, finding a little bit of a stretch for the front body rather than a rounded spine. See if you can kind of drop a bit more towards the floor with that center chest. From your child's pose, arms come out in front of you, come back into a table pose. And then your right arm is going to reach out to the side and up towards the ceiling. Open up through the torso, take a full breath in. And then as you exhale, thread that arm under the left and we're going to lower to the ground. So a block maybe for your head or a pillow. We're going to drop the head, the right shoulder towards the floor, pausing here. Your left hand can stay by your face, or you might walk your left fingers forward, keeping them on the ground, walking them overhead, getting a stretch through the left side. Try to send your left sit bone back rather than forward. And if the back of the neck is feeling constrained, see if you can draw the chin slightly towards your chest. And then walk that left hand back. If you took it forward, plant it by your face, put weight into your left hand and open up again towards your right. Pause here, little movement through your right wrist and fingers. Push the floor away with your left hand. And then return your right hand down, and we'll switch. Left arm reaches out and up towards the ceiling. Again, pause here for a moment. Get that stretch, get that space through your chest. And then thread that arm under the right. Reach as far as you can, and then lower the head and lower shoulder towards the ground. Pillow, block for this side too, if it works for you. Again, you're more than welcome to stay with your right hand by your face. If a little extra stretch is available there and you still feel stable and it's not too much for your left shoulder, you could walk your right fingers forward overhead, keeping your fingertips on the ground. You might find that one side this is more available than the other. That's fine if on this one it's not working that well. Bring it back. And as you're ready, walk those fingers back towards you. Plant your hand by your face, put weight into that hand, and then open up again towards your left. Pause for that extra stretch. Push the floor away with the right hand. Reach through the left fingers. And then exhale, lower that left hand. And you're back in table pose. From here, shift your feet to one side. And then see if your sit bones can lower all the way behind and plant them. Legs in front of you. And then from here, a little cow and cat. So feet are going to go wide. Knees are wide too. Hands are grabbing onto your shins. And then as you breathe in, really draw yourself forward and think about expanding from the pelvis or from the lower belly all the way to your throat. And then on your exhale, think about expanding all the way from the tailbone to the base of your skull. And then again, inhale, expand front body. And exhale, expand back body. One more here, inhale. And exhale. And then as you inhale, bring yourself back into a neutral spine. Walk your feet back towards each other. Last one here to visit those boat poses. So choose your version. Your hands behind you, maybe on your fingertips, your hands behind the thighs. And then you've got to lean back a bit so that you find that point of balance. And then you might come onto your tiptoes. Maybe one shin lifts and you alternate. Or maybe both shins lift. If you're feeling really stable here, let go of your legs, reach your fingers towards your toes. Now your challenge here is to broaden chest, but don't lose that engagement through those abdominal muscles, that core, that center. Breath in, breath out. Can you soften the face? One more here, nice. And then on the exhale, let's lower those feet and then see if from here you can lower all the way down onto your back. So now you want to be rounding. Think about rounding all the way, lowering section by section, and lastly, lowering the head. Once you're down with your back, those knees can come in towards the chest, little squeeze, a little rock. And we'll move into a couple bridge poses to reopen the front body. So planting your feet when you're ready, and then bringing your arms by your side. And just take a moment to bring your arms and hug them in towards the body so your shoulder blades will also squeeze in slightly. And then when you're ready, lift your hips. Find that squeeze through your glutes. And then think about that stretch through the front body. You might be able to squeeze those shoulder blades a little bit more. You might feel like your chest lifts a little bit too. Breathing here. And then slow and controlled, lowering those hips back down. Take a moment. Full breath in. Full breath out. And now we'll do the same, and we'll try lifting the heels once we're in bridge pose. So when you're ready, once again, press through those feet, squeeze through the glutes. Think about tucking tailbone between the legs as you lift. Make sure you're using your arms too, and then see if the right heel can lift. And maybe you do one at a time, lower, and then lift the left, and then lower. Maybe you try both heels lifting at the same time, pausing here. Use your arms, so squeeze those upper arms towards each other, squeeze the shoulder blades, press down. One more breath. And then on your exhale, if heels are lifted, gently lower, and then slowly lower those hips, lengthening through that lower back. Once that back body is down, feet go wide, knees rest against each other, hands can come to your belly. Take a full breath in. A full breath out. One more here. And then choosing to find Shavasana in this position or any position that will be conducive to stillness. Maybe your legs lengthen out. Maybe you prefer to come onto your side, or maybe you choose a seated Shavasana, a seated moment here of stillness. As you arrive, try to soften through the face, soften through the shoulders, the arms, soften through the torso, the side body, soften through your left leg, and then your right, your left foot and toes, and your right foot and toes. For the next few minutes, there is nothing else to do. Can you stay checking in? And can you find that moment of quiet and stillness within? As always, you're welcome to stay for longer if you wish. If you're ready to move, bring awareness back to your breath. As you breathe, bring awareness back to that center of the body. Notice the effect of the breath in those areas. And then as you begin to find small, gentle movements through the rest of the body, see if you can find that they're still connected to your center, to that core. So even as you move your toes, feel that it's coming, or there's that connection all the way to the center of your body. As you move your fingers, as you move your ankles and your wrists, as you move your legs and your arms, as you move your head. And eventually, let's make our way into a seat. And we'll meet there to end practice together. Your hands might rest in your lap. You might bring your hands and rest them at your chest. So you can find that lifted spine, shoulders down. Maybe your eyes stay closed. As always, we'll acknowledge here the practice itself, the endless opportunities it provides to learn about ourselves. We'll acknowledge ourselves for practicing. We'll acknowledge those who practice with us today and any other time. And we'll acknowledge all those who make it possible. And we'll end with a word that means that the light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. Namaste.